Welcome to Read Your Comics. Today I'm looking at Challengers of the Unknown #1. Thanks for joining me today. This is an interesting book because it is the first collaboration of Jeph Loeb and Tim Sale. Those guys are well known for Batman: The Long Halloween, Superman for All Season, the colored series of Marvel characters. But here they make their debut together. I don't know if this is Tim Sale's first book, but the write-up in the back of this makes me think it is Jeph Loeb's first comic. But before we dive into the book, I just want to say thanks to all the viewers' support. Every like, comment, and subscription is appreciated. So if you're enjoying positive comic content, please consider hitting thumbs up. Comments are always encouraged. And hey, if you haven't already, why not subscribe so you don't miss out on any future videos? I created this channel to entertain, inform, and maybe even inspire you to pick up some comics. If you think that's a good message that comic fans need in their feeds, then your likes, shares, and subs tell the YouTube algorithm to put it in front of them. So let's go ahead and jump into the book. So I already said this is the debut of the super team of Jeph Loeb and Tim Sale, but also this is a Brian Bowling cover. I only have this one issue. It's a 12-issue miniseries. I just kind of stumbled on this while digging in some books at a used bookstore, had some comics to the side, and I saw it and I was like, hey, Challengers of the Unknown. And when I saw Jeph Loeb and Tim Sale, I had to jump on it, right? But I got to get the rest of them because this one issue doesn't do a whole lot for me story-wise. This cover does play into the overall story. As you see, we've got, it looks like a giant mural poster of some sort on a brick wall, and these kids are defacing it. And it jumps out just, typical superhero story, it looks like. But that's kind of a red herring, as we see it's really a comic book itself, a comic within a comic about the Challengers of the Unknown. Super creative here of Tim Sale. You really see like the edging here. He took the time to detail the edging of like a newspaper print. This isn't a comic book, it is a newspaper of a company called Tattletale, which is a tabloid. Challengers of the Unknown stories, I guess, is kind of what helped sell their tabloid paper. And she goes on speaking about how Metropolis has Superman, and that's kind of the Daily Planet's story. You'd think everybody would cover it, but that's the thing that sells their paper. And then it goes on about how the Challengers have been around longer than Superman, but people have kind of forgotten them. Well, but it's her job to make sure they don't forget them, I guess. So they haven't been doing much, but she sends off this guy, Moffat, to go to this town called Challengerville. And I don't know that this was part of any Challenger lore before this. In the back, Jeph Loeb does a little write-up about how he got involved with this project. And he mentions that he wanted the Challengers to have aged, that they've been around longer. The book hadn't been in print, or there hadn't been any Challenger stuff coming out for about 10 years, he said. So he wanted to take it to this level of Challengers predated the superheroes of the DC universe. And at this point, they weren't overly involved in a lot of the universe-saving stuff. But they were a tourist attraction in this town, Challengerville, where they have a museum and everything. And this is some learning curve stuff for Jeph Loeb, I believe, because this part gets real disjointed real fast. So you've got Moffat here. It's hard to tell who this character is, but we're establishing Challengerville. It says Prof and June. Those are part of the Challengers. And then you just got Deep Space. And we're going to do that, and it's choppy throughout this little part. So we're sending Moffat to Challengerville. He's like a young guy that's kind of chauvinistic, I suppose, or he thinks more highly of himself than he probably should. You've got this strange guy here who's touring some of the Challenger museum and stuff. It'll go back and forth to the Challenger's Mountain and then Deep Space. And we do that for a couple of pages. Moffat's checking in at the hotel. Weirdo guy is in a museum. And then back at Rocky, he's watching TV. Deep Space. So this goes on for a couple of pages, and all of it's drawn well by Tim Sale. And this is pretty fully formed. Like I said, I don't know what Tim Sale did in comics before he did this, but this looks very similar to what we would see later on in The Long Halloween and For All Seasons, etc., etc. It's very close to that. He does pencil and ink the whole book. Kind of widescreen layouts, still doing the same thing. Here's our challengers. This is where we get to kind of see them really for the first time. They've discovered some kind of new energy source that's not nuclear, self-sustaining, blah, blah, blah. Sounds great. I don't know what's going on here with this like little walking robot thing, but it's something that continues on through the page. I like this layout here too. I guess this is our kind of our stories colliding. I guess it's a bomb. So there's your walking robot. It's still down here. And all of a sudden it says 4 men living on borrowed time. And, you know, they work and live in this mountain facility and it explodes. Pretty great splash page here. I like the way the panel's like even cracking. It's like looking out a window, I guess. So the window's breaking. Or reality is cracking. I don't know. Maybe not. It kind of blends into the page. And you've got like a little bit of everything that's happened so far going on. Great use of like deep blacks as the challengers start climbing their way out. 2 of the members are trapped. The 3 get out. And we kind of go back to our same like layout here of like, here's our Moffat guy. His eyes are real big as he climbs out from under the bed to look at the mountain. These like shady guys is our weirdo guy as he comes out of like an alleyway. And he's happy with what's happening. So pretty clear that he's behind this explosion to some degree. And then we've got Challengerville that's just wrecked. And then the challengers just kind of go to work rescuing people. I like this hover car. It's like flat. It's like an Apple device. And they just go to rescue people. And one of them is even like, what about Professor and June? He's like, they can take care of themselves right now. We need to help this town. I will say, I think there was a page I missed. So something about this, like I said, this is a book that's not been around for 10 years, according to Jeph Loeb. This would be introducing the challengers to new readers. And that's where I feel like Jeph Loeb, as a rookie comic writer, kind of struggles here. Instead of introducing the challengers earlier in the book, like really introducing them, I mean, these little like from behind panel, like you don't even see them necessarily, isn't a good way to introduce them. And then it gives a quick bio of each of them here, a 1-sentence bio of each of them. But we're like halfway through the book when we finally get to that point. But it does do a better job of establishing their personalities as they continue to rescue people throughout. And the people are a little ungrateful, actually. They're kind of like, what took you so long? We've been trapped in here. The roof could have caved in. I like this one, though. It's like, where have you been? At home with your wife. Now hang on to the rope. He's like, jerks. I do question this part, though. He goes into the church, and for some reason there is a child up in the rafters. Why is there a child up in the rafters? That made no sense to me, but he goes up there to rescue her. Still, I mean, mostly I'm marveling at the art. Mostly I'm marveling at the art in this one. Because the story, while it's interesting, it's some of that decompressed stuff, and this is 1991, so it's real early on. This is Jeph Loeb coming from the movie business, not quite understanding how to pace a #1 issue or a comic in general of a property like this that needs a reintroduction to the audience of 1991. I'm sure there were older people that knew him. I would not have known who the Challengers of the Unknown were in 1991. So this, I would have needed more as a reader. Then as the media descends on what was once Challengerville, the mountain's like hollowed out. It blew up so big. It's like a volcano went off almost. And the Moffat guy's being interviewed by a local reporter. And I don't know how necessary this is, but he's just basically wondering how he can hook up with the reporter after the interview's over. It's like, what? I don't understand the point of that. It seems like we're spending a lot of time with this guy. Again, if I'd read the whole series, maybe it would make more sense to me. But I'm just looking at this as like, this is the only one I've read, and it's number 1. So I don't know what comes after it. I don't know how establishing this kid's personality is, how important it is to the overarching story. Anyway, the Challengers are essentially blamed for this explosion, and the 3 that are out are arrested for it, even though they just spent the rest of the evening trying to save everybody. And they believe that the professor and June are dead. And then we have our weirdo guy saying he's free, or thinking I'm free, as he watches the Challengers get arrested. And then deep inside the mountain, whatever the energy source was, seems to be coming out. Something evil. So here's the little write-up by Jeph Loeb. He explains who he is and how he got involved in the project. Mentions that, as I said earlier, he wanted to know where the Challengers have been. How do they make a living? They haven't been involved with like the Justice League and all that stuff going on. So he felt it necessary to establish that world. And we do kind of get that in a way. I don't know how great it comes across in the writing. As I said, like the art in this is pretty good. I do want to get the rest of them. I haven't really made it a big effort to try to find them yet, but I do want to get the rest of this story. He also mentions that a different cover artist was going to do every issue, a big name. Brian Bowling gets to do this one. So here comes Jeph Loeb from Hollywood. He mentions in his write-up how there were channels he had to go through. When Jeanette Kahn first approached him, he thought, oh, good, I get to write Superman or Batman or whatever I want. And they're like, no. Here's the available characters you can choose from. Let's see what you got. Give me a proposal. And so he picked the Challengers of the Unknown because it was, something that had been kind of dormant. As I've already said, I just think he struggled a little bit with writing for a comic on this first issue. But we all know Jeph Loeb gets better, so I'm not going to hold it too much against him. Everybody's got to start somewhere, and we'll see how it goes. Until next time, read your comics.